Hi, everybody. This is a special episode of Strategy Talks. I invited back one of my friends, a digital marketer who knows a lot of stuff about digital marketing. But today we're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about mental health and social media. And so I want to put this out. If this might be a trigger for you, you might not want to listen to this. If you need support, you might want to listen to this. What is social media doing to our mental health? And we're going to just have a frank conversation. If you're ready for Strategy Talks, join us today.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Dorien Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. If you are just joining us now, right after the intro, I want to put this out one more time. My guests and I are going to be talking about mental health and social media. If this is a trigger for you, feel free to drop off. If this is something that you need help with, we totally invite you to be part of this conversation. I'm going to invite up onto the stage with me my friend and colleague, Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Dorien. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited. I think you might be the first guest who's been invited back to Strategy Talks season 3. But this is kind of like a serious thing, right? I put a call out. I wanted to talk about mental health and social media in a lot of different ways. And of course, the title right below us reads, "Is social media killing our mental health?" So, Tim, it's 2024. What do you think?
I think social media has absolutely changed the name of the game, for lack of a better term or phrase, with mental health. It's added a dimension that we, and please comment on this or correct me. We've had social media for actively in our lives for, 15, 20-ish years, really. If we go back to these days, we've only had this thing affecting us now for 15, 20 years. So of course we're kind of wrapping our heads around it, right?
Yeah. So what's changed in the last few years?
Oh, where do we start? Do we have 20 hours for this?
No, we've got 25 minutes, but let's get started. Because I've seen a big change, right? And for those of you watching, I have 4 children, young adults, that sort of grew up when social media first came out. And so they didn't have a phone right away. It wasn't even a smartphone. They had a flip phone. And so it was a little bit different to what kids grow up with now. And of course, we didn't have TikTok. We didn't even have Instagram. So there is just the way people are consuming content, and the content that's out there is different. And that's what's really changed, I believe.
I think out of everything I want to say about what's really changed, I think the biggest change I would say is the speed at which things happen and the speed at which we are affected, right? I think so. I'm also that way. Like when I started high school, we didn't really have cell phones. We didn't really have social media. By the time I finished high school, we did. And just that, that kind of dopamine kick of like instantly connecting with your friends and being able to message them and being able to see what they posted and getting those likes, but then also the speed at which people would be frankly unkind and would do things that hurt us or that, and because the speed picked up so fast, if we don't get immediate reactions, and I find it so ironic because this is still today's problem, if we post something and we don't get immediate reactions, we panic. Right? I think that's the biggest change is the speed at which we get these rewards, but that we also feel isolation and loneliness and, things affect us. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And I think that the younger people anybody, we've gotten so much more social media savvy. I remember about 5 years, 10 years ago, this was this big push for social media education. I mean, there still should be, honestly, but
Yeah.
there's a whole generation of parents now who are parenting, say, kindergartners, first graders, fifth graders, who grew up with social media themselves, right? So they're now, it's the education piece is a little bit different. We used to not just teach, what you should and shouldn't say, but also how technology works. We don't have to teach that piece anymore. All the young people know how technology works. They're in Costco holding an iPad, right?
Right. But then I think, and this is the other thing, I'm like, oh, if there's anything I want to say to Doreen today and on here, this is what I want to say. I think this also calls into question, though, our relationship to social media. Because now the parents who, and thank you for mentioning that, like the parents who grew up with social media who are now bringing up kids, and it is their world. It's wild when we have to, as adults, model be like these behaviors for kids, but we don't always know how to model them. I know I think about like I have two nephews who are 6 and 7,
Mhm.
and I have to really work at like, okay, when my nephews are with me, put down the phone, put it away. And I almost try to make it a production of seeing, I would say, see this, like I'm putting it away. I'm not using my electronics.
Right.
For me, and I'm the adult. Oh my
Right.
gosh, the kid, like what are they going through? What are they learning? But us adults, we
Yeah.
have to start modeling behaviors that maybe we haven't always been taught or haven't been reinforced, and maybe we don't even have a healthy relationship with our own tech and our own social media. How do we expect our kids to as well?
Right. So then when we go into the mental health piece, right? So now we're talking about technology, living with it. Things have gotten easier with technology, right? You can make plans with people anywhere in the world. You can travel, you can translate. You can go anywhere in the world to pull up your Google Translate or whatever app you have. You can talk to anybody in the world. The world has shrunk, right? But that also has created all sorts of issues, right? Mental
Yeah.
health issues of the things that we see. And I don't even want to go into it, but I think we might have to. It's 2024. It's an election year, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's going to happen? Then we put in, let's stir in some AI in the pot, right? And we don't know anymore what's real, what's not. How do we expect our young people to understand when something is AI generated, when something is real, when something was
Yeah.
said for real? Like how can we even teach to distinguish reality from virtual, from fake, from AI, from, you can basically make anybody say anything. Like this
Mhm.
affects you mentally, right? I've had conversations with young people that who are consuming content, and I'm asking them, I'm like, where did you get that fact? TikTok. I'm like, okay. Did you Google it? Well, no. So maybe you need to find the source of the content because it's taken out of context or it's
Yeah.
reused in a bad way, or I just don't even know how to teach them anymore, how to say, like, I know it's wrong, but I don't know how to fix it for you. I don't know how to make you understand or believe that what you're seeing on TikTok is not the truth.
I can't help but wonder if the solution is making media literacy a common part of culture. Doreen,
Mm.
you and I are a little bit different ages, but I know you and I would have grown up with like knowing when the street lights come on, that's when you go home.
Yeah.
And if a stranger asks you where you're going, it was common culture. You were taught like you don't tell a stranger like where home is or what you're doing. Right? These are just things we grew up with. We know that if you scraped your knee, cleaned it off, and you knew when to add peroxide or when to add alcohol, and that you'd be fine. I think we need to make media literacy for both understanding information that is true and not true, but also understanding how these things can be harmful, how social media can be
Mm.
harmful. Uh, I think that needs to become a part of common culture where we start learning to ask better questions and do just a little bit of deeper digging on all these things.
Yeah, but see, here's my question. Whose responsibility is this? Is this a responsibility of the parent? Is this the school? Is this general public? Should we, as social media professionals, you and me, digital marketers, should we take this on, you know, carry
Yes.
this load?
Yes, all of us. It takes a village. I think it's all of our responsibilities individually and collectively on all scales. I think it's parents. I think it's also friends. Friends have a responsibility to talk to each other about these things, and schools and professionals. I know, like, recently I had a talk with my doctor. She's facing swarms of misinformation and concerns about misinformation in her field. So the professionals we look up to, the institution, it is all of our responsibility to be talking about this and to be working towards, I think, media literacy.
All right. I love that. Media literacy. That's a great way to name it and say we
Yeah.
need to teach this, right? So what can we do? What if somebody is watching us talk about this? Oh, Tim and Doreen, they're talking about mental health, but I'm depressed. I see things on TikTok. I don't know how to get out of it. I know that I should stop watching. I know that it's affecting my mental health. I know it's affecting my workload. It's affecting my family life. What are some
Mhm.
things that you have done that helped you? Maybe some practical things, some tips. I'm happy to join in after you because I've struggled with this myself, especially for
Yeah.
those of us who are in marketing, who are on social media. I don't know about you. And if you're watching this, let us know in the comments, like how many minutes. But I get a report every Sunday night of how many minutes the average time my phone is on 8 to
Yeah.
10 hours a day of screen time. Now, that doesn't mean that all I do my work on my phone, but it's my second screen. It's on. I'm doing research on it. I'm looking at it. And even at night, sometimes I watch Netflix on my phone instead of on the TV because I'm doing things, right? So that's just a lot of screen time. Tim, some tips. What can we
Oh,
do?
okay. Tip number one, biggest skill I learned in therapy, and I want to shout this from the rooftops, is mindfulness. Pay attention to things. In this case, I like to look at it as like a relationship, like you're dating social media. How is this relationship with social media? Do they demand a lot of your time? Do they reward you? And if it's not a good relationship or you want to change parts of your relationship, change it. So, um, things you can do is like I set a limit on the amount of time. So my phone actually screams at me if I'm going overtime for the amount of time on TikTok, because that can be the worst for TikTok. But I also I turned off all notifications. One game changer for me that's helped. And I work in industry, so like I live and breathe this day in and day out. I turned off all notifications for all social media. I don't get any notifications ever on social media. I don't like my partner demanding my time, or in this case, I'm going to call this my partner in my relationship, demanding my attention all the time. So I turned off the notifications. The other thing I did, and this is another like tirade I could go on, is, and this has been a real game changer, is try to find replacement hobbies and replacement things to do. A mutual friend of ours, Sarah Monroe, lovely digital marketer and woman as well, taught me that when people go on social media for the first roughly 3 minutes, they're looking for information. Anytime you spend on social media longer than 3 minutes, you're looking for connection. Replace
Mm.
Right? Replace that social media kick for connection with something else. I, in the past 2 years, have doubled down on my friendships and spending more time with my friends intentionally, doing more activities that are social that don't involve social media. Because I realized I'm on this all the time on social media for connection. But if we're not getting it, because everything moves faster in social media, but we also then notice if we don't get that connection, we notice that faster. I go, no, I'm not going to use my phone for connection. I'm going to actually go visit a friend. I'm going to go do something social. Those are my first few right out of the gate that have really helped me. What about you, Doreen? Any tips or strategies?
Yeah. So for marketers like you, I have my phone basically on do not disturb Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays when I create content. So I don't want to be disturbed on the days on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I do meetings and podcast recordings. I have it on, but I have most notifications off. The other thing I did is I was very heavily involved in community management for years, which meant that Facebook groups, Slacks, it just was constant. And what I made a rule, and that worked really well, that I could do community management because it was a job only on my laptop. instead of on my phone. Because what was happening
Oh,
is that I was getting up in the morning at 6 a.m. and grabbing that phone, and I would be instantly at work. And I was like, and then I would go to bed at 11 o'clock at night with that phone in my hand and answer things. So I made that rule about 2.5 years into community management, and it made a huge difference. So if I might get up at 6, go for a run, have breakfast, say hi to my family, get my kids out the door. And then I would go to my Facebook group and my community. And then I would be doing it on my laptop, and that would be work versus it was just too much. That took a huge toll on my mental health. So if you're struggling with that as a marketer, have those set hours that, like you could be on your phone from 6 a.m. to 8, but don't go to your Facebook group. Don't go to your Slack. I have that part turned off. That was huge for me. Huge.
so it sounds like rules and boundaries. Rules and
Yes.
boundaries. You know what I want to try next? I haven't done it yet. I don't have quite the courage yet, and I haven't figured out the logistics, but I want to try this rule. Not have your phone in the bedroom. That's the one I'm going to do next. I'm always thinking like, oh, I got to charge it. I'm like, I'm going to set my charger outside my bedroom. I want to try to not have my phone ever in the bedroom. That's like a rule or a boundary as well.
That would be great. I've tried that, and I ended up picking up my book, right?
Yes. Yeah. Funny enough,
That's what happens.
I'm also hoping, I hope this means I read more. Okay.
It will.
So community management. I want to, because my head is going somewhere and it's something I want to talk about, but I'm also curious for you. Community management. We're going to start in marketing and bring this to mental health. That can expose you to some really dark and horrible and awful, I'm going to lightly say crap, but you know what I really want to say.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Because that can be really grating and really painful. Do you have any tips or strategies for?
Yeah. So you need a team. You need a team. If you're a community manager, you need several other moderators in your team. So I was very lucky to get on a team where we had initially like 12 moderators, and they were from all different parts of the world. So they would take different shifts. It was all volunteer basis, but we would have a meeting once a month where we would get together and we would talk about people. And then we made some rules, like in the group, we would say, whether it was Slack or, don't private message people with issues. And if they do, bring it to the community manager. So if you were to get 5 messages in a row from the same person, just whining or cussing you out or something, that you had the ability to block them, immediately report it to us. We would all remove that person from the group and block them from coming back in. It was not like 3 strikes, you're out. It was like, you don't do that. So setting really clear boundaries, but really having a team and somebody to bounce those things off of. If you're and I think the biggest thing is social media. A lot of us are so lonely, right? So we're in this, we're on social to be social, on social media to be social, but really, like you said earlier, we're looking for connections. And so a lot of people are doing this all by themselves. A lot of us are freelancers. A lot of us work from home now, even if we're on a team. So if you start feeling that way, be intentional about making sure that during those team meetings that you're really present, that you're listening, that you're engaging, that you're having conversations with people. And if you're still lonely, then reach out to people and say, hey, can we do a Zoom meeting? Right? One of the things that's really helped me put things in perspective is have a mastermind with other marketers, because it allows me to understand I'm not the only one with the same issue. I'm not the only one with the same problem, and being able to talk it through and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. What are you dealing with? What is the solution? They offer ideas, and I don't feel so alone anymore. And so that burden, that stress is then relieved because I was able to share it with other people. And that's the same thing that happens in community management when you have a team.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Interestingly, I was also thinking my go-to, really, this is just resilience in action. These are resiliency practices. My first go-to is go to people. Go to people.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's mean or nasty, I have one go-to friend, and she's one of the funniest humans on the planet. And her name is Barbara, and I'll go to her. I'll say, Barbara, I had a bad interaction and I'm feeling down. Can you make me laugh? And she's always got something to make me laugh. Or also though in marketing, I have some like marketers and other just like freelancers and business owners that like when I need to commiserate, I'm like, I'm gonna go to these people and I'm gonna talk to them. And I think at that heart is just like resiliency practices, things that build up resilience is key.
Yeah, but I think it just puts it in perspective too, because that's one of the pieces about social media and mental health. You lose perspective.
You
And
do.
this is something that young people don't seem to understand is how the algorithm works. Guys, we're in marketing. We understand how the algorithm we understand it better than the regular person, right? But if you click on 3 videos on YouTube that have to do political, that's all you're going to see, right? It's going to feed
Yeah.
it over and over and over. So if you were on TikTok and you're watching videos about mental health, suicide,
Yeah.
that's what you're going to see. That's not what's the only thing that's out there. But it seems that people just don't. I have people come to me and say about TikToks, about this thing, and it's like going viral. I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about. That is not what I'm seeing in
Nope.
TikTok. So I show them my feed, and it's about books and it's about business. They're like, oh, it's what you put in is what you get out. So I think that's an important distinction to make. If
Yeah.
you can step away, but you also can take positive action to look for positive things.
Yeah.
And as you are training the algorithm, like I want to learn things about how to be happy, about mindfulness, how to do more things in nature. I'm looking for new hobbies. When you put those things in the search engine, whether it's TikTok or YouTube, you start seeing beautiful things, right? Kittens and doggies. That's what I see most of the time,
Me
right?
too. Oh my gosh. Every time someone, usually in business, says, oh, I don't like, insert platform. I don't like LinkedIn because of what I see. I don't like TikTok because of what I see. I say, fun fact, you know how those platforms work? They're showing you what they think you want to see. Interact with content that you want to see more of. I have definitely used TikTok. It's so easy to use TikTok as the example. I've used TikTok to learn, especially about like resilience practices. But if you look at my TikTok is I think the funniest place on earth because I go for humorous content to laugh. Often because that's what makes me happy and gets me out of any ruts or
Sure.
problem. Your social media is what you interact with. I love that advice, Doreen.
Yeah.
Interact more with what you want to see. You can make this a good relationship if you interact with what you want to see more of.
But before you can do that, you have to have that awareness. And that's
Oh, yeah.
what I'm hoping today. If you get anything out of this, guys, you are in control of what you see and what your feed is like, whether that's on LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube, is the awareness piece for you have that control. There's definitely going to be suggested things, but if you click on the suggested things and you don't like it, put in different input and interact with the things that you like. I love dog rescues. All our animals are rescues. So I follow a bunch of dog rescues, and those are the stories that just come back in, my feed, my Facebook reels and my Instagram reels and my TikToks, beautiful stories about dogs that looked horrible that now have a wonderful home. That's what I want to see. That's
Yeah.
what makes me happy.
Yes. And also remember, like, to anybody watching, these platforms are betting on themselves. They're betting on their algorithms keeping you. I want you to bet on yourself that I can have a relationship with this that I am in control of. I'm not going to be hooked on the hamster wheel because the social media platform wants me to.
Yeah. Let's
That's
talk about advocacy a little bit. So, social media, can do a lot of harm. We know that. Can make people feel terrible, but it can also do so much good, right? We can be advocates, we can show people um different things, right? Whether you're an advocate for children or animal rights or plant-based eating or the
yeah.
environment or climate change, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
So again, there's controversy there. There'll be trolls there.
Yeah.
When you want to be an advocate for something, Tim, and the trolls come out, is there any advice from you how to deal with those that just are going, I don't like this, or you're wasting your time, or stop making this content, or
Oh, oh yeah. As a fat, gay, very gay man who likes to talk about being fat and gay, and I'm on a fitness journey. I like to talk about fitness for people with larger bodies like myself. I get these. So, recent memory, let me talk about what I've done. So, one, blocked words. Different platforms, most of them have this feature. They call it something different. I'm using Instagram's terms. You can block words so that those, and what I love about this feature is the commenter thinks they've posted it, but nobody in the world sees it, which is great. So I block words. So those posts don't even come up. Two, I immediately delete them. If I see something nasty come up, I delete it right away to try and get it out of my psyche as quickly as possible. Three, if I received any positive commentary on it, I screenshot the positive comments and the love, and I just look at those photos on my phone or on whatever device I screenshot it to remind myself of the positive. And the fourth thing I do, and it's funny because I've had companies do this. I do this. I will send my post to like some of my closest friends and go like, "Hi, I posted this and I'm feeling vulnerable. Can you send me some love?" And
oh,
people always come to my rescue, and they come to your rescue and they show you that love. Those are my go-tos right out of the gate when the trolls start coming.
I love that. I love that. I'm watching, and I can see that. I think that was such a great tip, blocking words. I see a lot of beautiful blended families on Instagram. I follow them. That's another thing. I love families. I love, uh, m- couples that are, one half is disabled, or is a different race, or same genders, and they just get so much hate. I hate watching that, yet they have such positive messages to share. I wonder if some of them don't understand that they can block some of these words and hate. So I love
Yeah.
that. That is great advice. If you are dealing with this, if you know somebody who is, or if you have a teenager who is being frankly harassed by their so-called friends, share that tip. That's great. That's wonderful, Tim. That's really good.
One other tip, actually, now that it's coming to me. The other one is context clues. We know, and I hate to say it, but Doreen, you Americans are probably some of the largest sources targets of this. Bots,
Mm.
computers that intentionally spew hate. Remember, many negative comments on social media just come from computers that were designed with, frankly, ill intent to garner attention and engagement. Remember, half of it, not even real humans, not even a
Oh,
real human behind it. Remember that as well.
yeah. So push them out. So that lets us come to the last question. Is social media killing our mental health? Tim, yay or nay?
I think it's harming it. And if we don't get it in check and we don't work on our media literacy and I'm going to say our emotional literacy, and we, you know, take a more proactive approach to mental health education, it will kill our mental health. It's not killing it right now, but it's on track to if we don't turn it around. What do you think?
Mm. Yeah, I wonder if it's terminal. I wonder if there's a way to turn it around or not. I see so much pain, and I see so much um anxiety because of because of social media. So I hope that we can push it back, like you said, with all these tools, with awareness, with resilience, with education. Let's try to help. And if you're watching this and you're a marketer, this is, as Tim said earlier, not just on parents, not just on educators. It is on us as marketers. It is on us as if, whether we're parents or uncles or aunts or grandparents. It's on all of us to help educate and to show the way, and to have that media literacy, and to shine a light on that, especially in 2024, as we are entering, or we have entered, election year. AI is here to stay. There's so much out there, guys. Yeah. Well,
But
Tim,
just like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to wrap that up, like the car didn't kill us. TV didn't kill us. These were big and innovative and groundbreaking tech and tools. And that's why I'm a bit of an optimist. I'm like, I don't think this will kill us, but we got to turn it around, right? We didn't let cars run our lives. We didn't let TVs run our lives. Same thing applies on social media.
All right. Well, if you need help, reach out to us. There's hotlines out there, but if you want to talk about this, Tim, you're available. I'm sure on LinkedIn, you are very responsive to DM. So am I. If you want to have a conversation or a deeper conversation, or you need support, or you want to have a Zoom call, Tim and I are both open for virtual coffees. I just want to put that out there. It is very lonely out there as a marketer, as a freelancer, especially when you work from home. And if you need a tribe and you don't have anybody, start just by reaching out to one person. Reach out to Tim. That's how Tim and I met, actually. Right, Tim? You reached out, and then I said yes, and we started talking, and we met on Zoom, and we became great friends. So it starts with that one, I need help, raising your hand. So if that is you, and we can help you, if you're struggling with something, we'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And of course, if you don't feel well at all, reach out to, hotlines. And if you need that, again, come to our DMs, we'll help you, and we'll provide some of that information to you. Tim, I appreciate you raising your hand within 5 seconds of me asking on LinkedIn. I need somebody to come talk about social media mental health. And you're like, yes, me, please. So I appreciate you more than you know. And I hope that this special episode of Strategy Talks, where we didn't really talk much about strategy for business, but really strategy for life, and how to be healthy in a world of social media that's not going to go away. Just like we said, AI is not going to go away. Social media is not going to go away. But how we can navigate that in a healthy way. I appreciate you. I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. And Tim, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, friend. You beautiful human. Thank you so much.
Bye.